Someone sent me this short where a Christian apparently debunks Hinduism in 60 seconds. Let's have a look.
The reason why Hinduism has a problem, let me explain to you. Your concept of God cannot contradict reality, meaning the Bible tells us creation is a revelation. There's a God. When you look at the sun, the moon, the stars, when you look at the trees, you look at complexity, you look at the animals, you look at humans and diversity, and you look at the complexity of the cell, and you know there's a power that is very wise because it takes wisdom to create such design, right?
Yep.
So your concept of God cannot contradict the revelation of creation. In Hinduism, the highest level, God is a force, and that force manifests all these variety of gods. But that force is an it. It doesn't have a mind. It's not personal. That kind of God, that conception of God does not correspond to reality, because a force cannot give you wisdom and knowledge, intellect, because it doesn't have it. So that conception does not correspond with reality.
So all he's doing here is revealing his ignorance about Hinduism. He's talking as if Hinduism is homogeneous or a monolith in the way Christianity or Islam are, where you can find a Muslim or a Christian, and although they have internal disagreements among themselves, if you find a Muslim, there's certain things you can know they're going to believe, and the same is true of a Christian, whereas with Hinduism, you've just about got every worldview under the sun that could fit under the umbrella of Hinduism. A key difference here is Christianity and Islam are centralized. They've got a dogmatic structure, whereas Hinduism is a wide variety of traditions that are pretty independent from one another. And an Islamic apologist might want to say, see, there's the problem. Hindus don't know what to believe because they don't have a clear tradition. It's like, well, I mean, I could say the same thing of Abrahamic traditions. See, the problem with being a follower of Abraham is you don't know what to believe because you got Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He's putting the level of analysis at the wrong level. It's not a fair comparison. What you need to do is find a specific tradition in Hinduism, study it, and then give arguments against that specific tradition. So what this Christian apologist could do, if he wanted to actually create productive conversations, is say, there's versions of Hinduism who hold a view that looks something like this. Here's an argument against this kind of Hindu view. And that could be productive. I might even agree with his argument because I personally follow a Bhakti tradition where we understand God to be very personal and have a mind. So where I would agree with his argument is debates like this happened in India historically. There was Adi Shankaracharya, who gave a pretty impersonalistic view, and he had opponents such as Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya. And they gave robust philosophical objections against this sort of impersonalistic worldview. And his argument is kind of saying a similar sort of thing to arguments that got landed against Adi Shankaracharya's view, which is if God is impersonal, if the ultimate foundation of reality is lacking in qualities, then where do all these qualities that we see in the world come from? And the way this particular view is called Advaitavad, non-dualism, the doctrine of non-dualism. Vada basically means the doctrine. The way they dealt with this objection is to say, well, the reason why we see all this variety in the world is because we're just imagining it. The variety doesn't actually exist. Whereas the Vaishnavas were typically the ones arguing against the Advaitavadi view, the impersonalist view, would say the reason why we see all the variety in the world is because God himself is full of variety. Prabhupada would often give an argument that in philosophy we might call a construction argument, which is in order to construct a universe, you need certain qualities. Like if a builder is gonna make something, they need timber, they need knowledge how to build, they need skills, they need tools, and everything they need in excess. You need more timber than is going to go into the chair. They need more knowledge than they're going to use to build the chair. Their tools need to be capable of more things. than just building that chair in order to pull the whole thing off. And only if all these causes are present can you have a chair. So similarly, for God to create a universe that has all the qualities we see, God himself needs to have all these qualities. That then goes into the Indian version of the problem of evil, which is, well, if everything's coming from God, then why do we... They didn't talk about it in the West. The problem of evil is moral. It's, why isn't God acting properly? Why is God, letting all these children suffer and not stepping in and stopping it? Whereas in the East, in Indian traditions, the problem of evil is ontological. Why, where do we get all these bad qualities from? If God is pure, if the source where they come from is pure, how do we get all these impurities, all this degradation? So the way that's answered is it's a perverted reflection. So you can have a pure thing, and then you can have a reflection that comes off of it, like the sun reflected on the water, and the sun reflected on the water. You can destroy it. You can be twisted. It can be warped. But the sun itself is not itself having any of those qualities. It's just when you get a perverted reflection of something, that's how it ends up. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. Maybe it would have been better if I made it short and snappy, but anyway, I'm going to try to make a lot of content lately now that I've got this camera set up and I can do things while I'm driving, and I'm going to do very little editing. So let me know what you think of this sort of content. Let me know if there's any other videos you'd like me to respond to, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hare Krishna.